to appreciate the invitation that has been extended to me by the board of directors of Nyumba Sacco and the CEO Nyumba Sacco, and of course to recognize the presence of all the honorable members who have come here. I appreciate the cooperative officer who is also with us here today to join us as we discuss issues to do with financial freedom. It is always an honor and a privilege for one to be invited to talk to the same people within a very short span of time. I don't take it for granted. I'm grateful. And I also pride myself in sharing some of the insights that I have in as far as this journey is concerned. I call it a journey. And just to take a cue from my predecessors, and especially our cooperative officer, who have delved so much on issues to do with financial literacy for us to understand money management issues. Now, I'll take about 20 minutes of your time, so I'll not keep you, because I'll just be building so much on what he has spoken about in as far as this subject is concerned, and also looking at the time. Now, mine is quite brief. It's about financial freedom. Financial freedom. And we start by asking ourselves why financial freedom is actually a very intricate journey that many Africans are not able to achieve. Many Africans. And I say Africans because all of us are Africans. And we start and we wonder why we don't grow, why we don't move, why money doesn't do very well for us. And I'll be giving you some of the reasons why money doesn't work for Africans. Now, for us, I think the first thing first is actually to discuss basically about mental transformations. Mental transformations. Number one, even before you take your notes, don't take any notes from my slides, because what I'll be saying much will not be in the notes. I want you not to lose the focus of my conversations in the interest of time, because you might some information might escape you. One is that in as far as this journey is concerned, one must be very deliberate. One must be very intentional. Number one question that maybe I would shoot to the audience, the ones who are watching us online and also the ones who are here, is why do people join, or why did us join Nyumba Sacco? Why is it that we are discussing? I heard someone say that they are recruiting people and they are bringing members. Of course, I also know that the Sacco has got the marketing department. It is recruiting people to Nyumba Sacco. What is the essence? Why should I join Nyumba Sacco? And someone must convince me, because when I was seated here and I'm listening, of course, I'm also trying to conceptualize and put myself in the rhythm to understand what is Nyumba Sacco and who is Nyumba Sacco. One critical thing that I've picked when I was seated here is that the minimum savings per month is 1,500. And I was asking myself, 1,500 times 2 is 3,000 bob, and I multiplied by 6, and it was giving me 18,000. Isn't it? 18,000. Would that one excite me to join Nyumba Sacco? Would that one excite me? And number two, why did people join? Are you joining so that you can feel the warmth of being in a team that is growing a vibrant Sacco, like Nyumba Sacco? You know, it has got a very good base. The brand that is behind Nyumba Sacco, housing finance. Is that the main reason why you join? And that's why you're contributing. Even in my church, I don't give 1,500 every Sunday in my offerings. I don't know whether that is why we joined. You know, this journey of understanding money, when I listen to the white men and women, when I listen to the Asians, and I listen to them talking about this subject, not only reading, I have read a lot of books, and I'll be sharing some of the insights that I've picked from them. I've also been able to interrogate a lot of journal articles that have been published in as far as this area is concerned. But when I listen to those people when they are talking, I think what guides and what transforms people mentally about this subject is someone having a purpose, not a passion, not joining a barrack or a cohort of people who are journeying together in a particular direction, but they don't know why they are joining the cohort. And that's why I would really wish that people must be able to get convinced to understand, how do you achieve financial freedom if you don't have the purpose of why you joined? And the purpose, I believe, of joining a cooperative, and as enshrined in the cooperative principles that he has given us here, there are 7, number 3 and number 5. Member economic participation, and also member education, training, and information. Where you've been gathered here is actually to connect you with your original purpose. And your original purpose was not to work. Your original, there's nobody who was created to work, and there's no profession that God created. I usually look at my Bible, and I have never seen anywhere people are told to become engineers, where people are told when you get to the third year of your life or 5 years, like ourselves, that you're supposed to go to school. You start from nursery, you go to 844, you go to maybe CBE or CBC, you go to IGCSE, then you are destined to become now an engineer or a banker for that matter. There's no way I see that. But what I see in the Bible is about Genesis chapter 1 verse 3, which talks the essence of why a man was created by God. He was only supposed to be productive. He was supposed to reproduce and fill the earth. He was supposed to subdue and take dominion. That is what guides me. I'm here now training. I'm just from Nakuru. I had gone for another function, finished, and I came back. And what was guiding my planning, because I left Nairobi at 5 a.m. in the morning, was actually to go to Nakuru, attend that particular function, finish what I was doing, and be here by 3 p.m. And I've come here, and what I was coming to do, this is now what I'm doing. After this, I'm also going to somewhere else, because my day is actually governed within a particular set of timeline to achieve what I wanted to achieve in the course of the day. And those activities that I wanted to do, Muru, I went through Evasha, I went through Deramea, Gilgil, and I've come back. All that story, I'm the one who is telling you. But if you looked at me when I came in here, you could not know. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any contribution to where I am today. What is very critical is that I was given the job to come and deliver this talk, and I am here to deliver the talk. That was the purpose. That is what is very critical. It is not going to look for a job. It is not about borrowing. It is not even about saving. It is about the ultimate image of that person that you want to become. Do you have got anyone who has got that image of what you want to become? Now, that image of what you want to become, or that ultimate image of what you want to achieve, is what now informs the incidental activities. And the incidental activities is now the 1,500 that you are saving here per month. Because 18,000 in a month or in a year, you know that one you cannot even tell anyone that you are in Nyumba Sacco. When people will start wondering, even churches, we don't save that kind of money. We don't even give offering of that kind. Because even if you are to give 1,500, and that is not a tithe every Sunday, it is actually 6,000 and that is church offering. It's not my life. That is someone else now endeavor of now passing the gospel and supporting God's work, and that is not tithe. Because we are told, don't go to a house of God or don't go to God's house empty-handed. That is the purpose. Now, this language of teaching about money, I think the cooperative officer, they have taught this religion everywhere. Yeah? And memalizia vizuri sana that the road that is least, you say that traveled, is actually the road for investment. And nikaona ameweka mpaka side mirror. Alafu akaanza kuuliza hii barabara iko huko nyuma inakaa namna gani. Lakini akasema kule mbele inakaa vizuri sana. Unajua nilikuwa naambia watu wengine in the morning that the Bible talks about how heaven will be looking like. I don't know whether you've ever read your Bible. that the roads in heaven will be made of gold. In heaven, when we go there, the few of us who will go there, we are going to be singing and dancing from morning to evening. You know, there will be no eating. The Bible is very clear about how the heaven will be looking like, and all of us will be married by one man. Myself, my wife, my children, you know, my daughters and my sons, all of us will be married by one man. The Bible is very categorical. No, I don't think there's a, of course they say that it will be a land that will be full of milk and honey, but I think it is a question of reflecting on what was happening in the desert with the children of Israel. But I understand that when the trumpet will be rung, all of us will go and we're going to meet in the air and will be married by one man. Now, that conversation helps me now to know that the ones who will go to heaven, they are anchored on hope. And that is what guides. Those are the signposts that we usually look forward to, that we shall go to heaven. What about now the people who started working when they were 23 years and 24 years, and now they are 50 years? Why do they go to work? Because working defines nobody. What is actually defines someone is the output of that job. If you get married today, and people are not able to see what you are reproducing in that house, then that family is not productive. Isn't it? Because all of us are born by different parents. We come together. What now makes our life now become productive? What we see. And that is how to say reproduce. Because the production is activity, is an action. But when it is reproduced, then you're able to take that tree and eat the fruit. That's what we are saying here, that any growth that has been achieved either in life or in business, it is always deliberate, intentions, and by design. And by design meaning that I must be able to be my architect. My architectural designs of what I want to do. It's not about where I work. Where I work doesn't define me, because that is the employer's place. And I was very happy when the cooperative officer was saying that the employer has got no business with you. And I tell people, and especially the government officers, I tell them every day, I'm in Kenya School of Government and I'm always invited. That is the only program that I'm now currently running at Kenya School of Government. They always bring people who are 58 years old. And they task me to tell them that they need to kind of introspect, reflect on what is awaiting them. You know what is awaiting retirees is now the time for you to eat what you have been working for. Unajua wakati mtu anapata kazi anakuanga na a lot of energy. Lakini wakati unaenda kuretire unakuanga very weak. And so unahitaji mkongojo. Mkongojo ni mtu wa kushikilia so that now you can walk on it. And hiyo mkongojo is now what you have been working for. You cannot tell me 18,000 in a year, 10 years 180,000. 20 years, 360,000. Then you tell me after 30 years, 540,000. Even the small cars you go to Namboa to Nunue. There is no car that you can afford with that kind of money. Because there was no purpose. And that's why I say that any growth that anyone would want to achieve in life must be intentional, must be deliberate, and it must be achieved through a particular design. And my employer is out of this. Because there's nobody who was born to work in a particular place. There is nobody who was designed to work in a particular area. If hawkers are working in this town and they can afford a cup of coffee here or tea, there is nobody who can tell them that hawkers are not allowed here. Because what buys is not where you work. What buys is a purchasing power. And anyone who has got purchasing power qualifies. And that is why the globe, the economies of the world are run by people who are school dropouts. The economies of people who can speak fluent English are people who work all their lives and they are usually strangers to themselves. That's why even they will struggle even to save, because they do not understand that. Actually, it is because it is deducted as source. If Sacco would make it now deliberate that everybody should be contributing and will be bringing their money or be putting their money in the M-Pesa to shoot it now to the Sacco account, I can tell you Nyumba Sacco may not even be there.
Why? Because many people are under coercion. People are strangers. People do not know where they are and where they are going. There are no signposts to look on the side to know whether you are going in the right direction or not the right direction. That's what we are saying. Behind the story or the story of any great success is timing and what? Timing and change. And you always hear the person say that they move from point A to point B, or they change jobs, or they had a paradigm shift in the way of thinking. The ability to to understand the times and make the necessary changes is key to any sustainable greatness. That the message that I'll be passing to you and the messages that you've heard from when you came here, if you do not understand the times and align your life and the life goals, I think I heard even him talking about the features of retirement, you know, because some of these things we say that God is going to provide. God doesn't provide, and God doesn't work in vacuum. God meets with the people in action. God will always reproduce what you have planted. If your production is 1,500, God cannot give you more money or more output out of that. It's a question of why are you saving 1,500? Why would I save 50,000 in a month? Why would I save 200,000 in a month? I know when I talk about 200,000, it sounds to be a lot of money, isn't it? It is only a lot of money to someone whose dream is very small. But if you work with the people who can challenge your mind, then let me tell you, we don't save how much money we don't save a proportion of what we earn. We save a proportion of how much we generate. Because you can be delegated or you can be relegated to become a conduit in life. A conduit in that work, you are paid a salary of maybe 100,000. That 100,000 that you are paid by your employer, the only money that 1,200. I've heard him talking and even illustrating how pigs are big. Was it a pig or it was a sheep? And in a nyorewa in a bakia, a very small thing. You know, that illustration was very good to show you that you are just a mere katwa pesa yote ile wewe 500. Because that is the only money that is yours. Hiyo ingine ni ya mashule na watoto wako wanaenda shule ambazo sio zako. If you are living in a rented unit, then it means that you are paying for someone. And mind you, the person who is housing you, and may God forbid that you house somewhere, not in your house, that person may not even understand this language I'm speaking. Leave alone the concepts of money. But yet they understand that they are aging, na mkongojo wao, niyo nyumba ambayo wameweka pale, ili wale nao hawajaelewa maisha vizuri wakae ndani. Washikirie huyu mzee azeeke vizuri. And most of the times, we do not understand it because there is no system that is actually guiding why and how I reproduce and how much I pay myself. And I have worked with technocrats like Indians. It was a privilege to get my first job in Deloitte and Touch. And in that company, out of the 300 people whom we were employed together, there are only two Indians. And those Indians worked only for 3 years in Deloitte. I left them there. I worked for 2 years. And I was told that they were taken back to their country. Actually, they had come here as technocrats, not that they were looking for work. Just go to any company and look for work. Other than these banks that are owned by Indians, mostly you never find an Indian working anywhere. And Indians go to GCSE. They don't go through CBC. But even if they go to run a school of economics and they graduate back, they will not come to look for work. They will go to where the daddy and the mother is working. If it is a supermarket, that's where they will go to work. You know why? Education doesn't facilitate their mental interdependence. It is a question of giving them freedom in thought to actually become better retailers, better managers of their businesses because of succession. But as Africans, it is actually saving the bare minimum, and ultimately unaweza kukuta hata mtu akona miaka 45 na hana kitu. Amesave milioni moja kwa zako. Milioni moja. Na ni mtu wa miaka 45. Na unajua miaka 45 ni mtu mzee. Mtu wa miaka 45 ni mtu mzee sana, kwa sababu ile maisha ambayo imebakia hapo mbele ni maisha ya shida. Kwa sababu 45, and this is mostly is for men. Men are the ones who are usually lost. Ojua, we are the providers. So if a man got to 45 na hujajipanga vizuri, then maisha ya watoto sasa ukifikisha miaka 45 inaanzanga kupanda juu. So kwa hivyo mpaka school fees inaenda ikiwa inapanda juu. So even the family expectations, hata hiyo gari tulikuwa tunaambiwa tununue, sasa wanataka gari nyingine mzuri. Sio hiyo gari ndogo sasa, wanataka gari mzuri, isn't it? That is when some of us realize that your house somewhere else, you need a house. And you know your house to live in is not an investment. You know a house to live in is a sunk cost. It's something that is good for image and security, but you can die inside there. You can actually even become malnourished when you're inside the house. Because it doesn't generate any money. Isn't it? So now, if you did not plan well, what happens is that when now 45 now comes, is now when you realize that you didn't do anything about your life. And you start now running like a sprinter. And you know, you cannot do sprint at 45. You can only do marathon. Because a sprint is for young people who have got the energy. Yourself at 45, even your wife has already started realizing that maybe you are not the best person. That's what I always say. There's what you call midlife crisis, that maybe you are not the right person. And now your only relevance in that house is the extent that you can be able to provide. But now obligations are becoming more, they are becoming fatter, as he was illustrating here. But the pay slip is becoming sleeper. And when you look back at Nyumba Sacco, you only have got 1 million. And they had multiplied of 10 times. That actually even really shocked me. So you have got 1 million, then you have got a loan of 10 million. And you have got nothing to show of that 10 million other than your personal car that has depreciated to zero. Then you have got a good TV. You have got, a good sofa that can raise your legs. And most of the people who have got recliner seats, just go to your house and see. Many men will never lift that recliner thing. Because many men are never comfortable. And you want to be in the table room for a very short time to avoid a lot of interrogations and a lot of questions and a lot of things that are brought on the table. And all this becomes an issue because you started a journey that you were not clearly defined how the journey will run. You did not even define how the journey will end. And what is very critical is not where you pass through the roads, is whether you've gotten where you're going. That's what makes the difference. That's what we always say. It doesn't matter whether I'm a professor and you are not. It doesn't matter whether I'm an accountant and you are not. It doesn't matter whether I'm a medical doctor and you're not. What matters is whether I can be able to get what I need for my life. And all of us cannot be the same. It doesn't matter whether you're using Uber. It doesn't matter whether you're using Boda Boda. It doesn't matter whether you're using Lexus or VX or V8 or whatever. What matters, have I arrived where I was going? Because at the end of the day, the marking scheme is whether you arrive or you not arrive. Now, woe unto them who doesn't know that. That's what we're saying, that the ability to understand the times and make the necessary changes is the key to sustainable greatness. Life is a function of change. And I believe that as I'm talking to you, there are some of us here who are actually thinking that, who are actually coming to the realization that how I woke up yesterday and what I was doing yesterday might not be very relevant on Monday. Because on Monday, there will be new challenges. On Monday, maybe my daughter will be going to Form 1 or maybe will be joining campus or be, there are things that are actually changes. So, and your employer, mind you, is paying you salary. Na hata wale ambao wameingia kwa hii vitu zinaitwa unions. I've seen the dons read by our Secretary General by the name Constance Wesonga. They are already on strike. I don't know that you are aware. These are professors. You know a professor, to make a professor is not cheap. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of devotion. And you find someone is earning, getting a salary of 250,000 in a month. 250,000. I also have got a group here, Mama Mboga wana save 5,000 per day. Mama Mboga moja 5,000. So unaona Mama Mboga akisave 5,000 per day. Na unajua ni kusave, sio, that's not high incomes, 5,000. Even if you give this Mama Mboga 25 days to work, that is about how much? 25,000 multiplied by 5? 125,000? Isn't it? 125,000. Now the professor is earning 250,000. And you know, that person, most of the professors, I don't know that you've known that they are old people. Old people. Which means that today's guy doesn't know anything else other than textbooks, journal articles, you know, dissertations. That is that's what they do in the university. So huyo professor, ile kitu ambaye anajua sana ndio inamulipa 250,000, alafu inagongwa deductions ya 30%. Hiyo 250,000. Alafu sasa amechukua loan. So huyo professor anaenda nyumbani na 30,000. That's why CBAs, those collective bargaining arguments, they keep on talking about such. Employer doesn't mind about where you doesn't care what goes to your pocket. The only care is, are you executing what they have asked you to execute? The problem is the one who moved from point A to point B, but they have never realized that moving now from point B to C is actually very timely. It's actually very paramount. Don't settle at B. What you could save the bare minimum. We don't save the bare minimum. We don't save 10,000. Someone like me who is old, and the others who are here who are old, you're supposed to be saving minimum 100,000 in a month. And why you are saving 100,000 is not because you have. It is because you are working with the principles of reproduction. Mimi mama yetu alikuwa anatuambia mimi nimewazaa nyinyi wote. Tuko wanaume 6 kwetu. Na hakuna mimi masikio yangu iko hapa. Hakuna hata moja imekatwa. Unaona? Hata mguu yake haijakatwa. Which means yeye hakuwa anakatwa ili tuzaliwe. What she was actually doing was a duplication. She was reproducing. So now, when you are borrowing 10 times, and that is actually an indication that in your circle, there is a very low appetite of borrowing. And that's why they have got a lot of liquidity, and they can give 10 times. A lot of liquidity to lend. Or unto them who will take 10 times, which is actually 9 times of other people's money. Not your money. Yako ni milioni moja tu, 9 ni za wengine. Or unto them who will take now 9 million from other people, and they don't care that they are supposed to be reproducing with that money. Because it is from the reproduction or from the fruit, from the harvest, that we are telling you bring 100,000. 100,000 per month in a year is 1.2 million. That is money you can tell someone that this is what I've been saving. In Kenya today, 1.2 million. You know, 10 years, 12 million. 12 million, even though it's not a lot of money, it can actually be able to give you good return. How much are you paying on this deposit? What percentage? We don't have. Okay. What about your interest on deposit rate? 8, 9. You know, even if it is, let me put it at 10%. What is 10% of 12 million? It is actually 1.2. 1.2 divided by 12, which is the number of months in a year, is at least how much? 100,000 in the village. Hiyo ni mkongojo mzuri sana ya mzee. 100,000. But you see, what has been informing your saving, it is not how much money you earn. What has been informing your saving 100,000 is how you want to look like after 10 years. You know, that product of 100,000 after 10 years is what would make me to deny myself. Niliona definition yake, I'm a good student. I like looking and when someone is presenting. Alikuwa amesema sijui saving, I think uliongea mambo ya deferred payment, deferred spending, deferred consumption, which means that you would really love to live well today, but because of a better tomorrow, I decided to postpone. That's what we call deferment. In accounting, tunasema defer the tax. We defer taxation. We defer all this. So I delay today. So I'm not delaying it because I don't need it. I'm delaying it because my tomorrow is more important than today. And that's why you always say that tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. And you Waswahili wanasema uzee inakula nini? Ujana. Lakini vijana wa siku hizi wanafikiria kuwa kijana is a permanent status. Nisikia mwingine ameimba wimbo akasema ujana ni nini? Ujana ni moshi bwana. Ujana ni moshi. So many people forget that what is very important, it is not where they are. What is very critical is where I'll be tomorrow. Because circumstances, the macroeconomic parameters, there are things we call in a research model. There are some moderating variables. There is also another E that you put in a multilinear regression model. Pale mwisho tulekanga E. Hiyo inatangwa random error term. Random error term inachukulianga all the variables that could have affected the moderating, the regression, but they had not come to your realization that the economics of Kenya will keep on changing. The inflation in Kenya will keep on changing. The dollar rating, the currency fluctuations will keep on changing. Now, when they keep on changing, how exposed are you? How exposed? In the event where you are working, you are told or you get a letter on Monday that you are no longer required. So how covered, how exposed? What is your fallback position? And most of the times you realize that an African man, because of how we are so lost because of digital distractions. Unapata mwanaume anaamuka saa 10:30 na the first thing anaangalianga ni simu. Aangalie update kwa simu. Social media. Imebeba watu sana siku hizi. They are actually among us, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals now is actually dealing with the digital distractions. Siku hizi kila mtu saa zote anakuanga kwa simu, ukiangalia kwa simu. So you spend a whole day on Safaricom bundles, and you are making money for Meta Group, and TikTok and all this, and you don't have time to connect with your purpose in life. So you have got, you are not deliberate, and so you don't have an architectural design. You have got no holding. I even heard him saying that you don't borrow money to go and plan, but first of all you plan, then you go and look for funding. And that is actually how even the building, skyscrapers that you are seeing in Nairobi, any development that we see, it all starts with a concept development, then the concept design and development, being given a prototype to look for at, then when you approve, you are now called now financial consultant to look for funding. You don't start by getting the money and then you start thinking what to do with the money. Again, you don't do what you want to achieve in life with the available liquidity of the available. You actually budget and source for funding. And one of the other reasons why SACCOs are there is actually to give you the funding. So when someone wakes up in the morning and he is 45 years and above, and they don't ask themselves, so how will my tomorrow look like? And in Sarah's Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22, where we ask that you're supposed to leave great inheritance to our generations to come. You don't connect that, and the Bible says that the man in the family is a priest, which means he is the one who carries the blessings in the family, and he is the one who foresees ahead. Even in the Bible it is written, in Kikuyu tunasemanga mzee akiwa ameketi chini anaona mbali kuliko kijana akiwa juu ya mti. You know, because you have grown in wisdom. You know, you have grown in wisdom. Kwa hivyo mtoto wakati lakini lazima kidogo. These are the moments I call the salvation. You know, you cannot afford now to run away from it because maybe this is the only time you are going to see me. So let me say it. Kwamba mzee akiwa ameketi chini anaona mbali. And why we say mzee anaonanga mbali akiwa ameketi chini is because you have grown in wisdom. And wisdom is applied knowledge. Wisdom is that you've gone through the school of life. And you've gone through a lot of experiences. And in the process of those experiences, you've gathered a lot of knowledge and exposure. So wakati kijana ako juu, yeye anaona amejaa maisha. Maisha yake iko juu sana. Na hajui maisha ya Kenya saa hii. Even these AI modelings, we are told that they can be able to predict tomorrow. Even with artificial intelligence. Let me tell you, the way the macroeconomics dynamics are behaving in Africa because of poor leadership, you are not able to know even why one is a governor. You don't even know why one is a president today. You don't know why one is a governor. Like now the governor of Nairobi, what is he currently, but what is he currently doing that you can say that he is actually creating a sustainable development so that Nairobi will become a better place and actually a county that houses the capital city. There's nothing other than giving people lunch na uji ya watoto. You know, those are things that are very incidental that you cannot even afford to tell anyone that watu wanakula lunch, watu wanakunywa uji, watoto wanakunywa uji. Is that anything you can tell anyone? How sustainable is that one? So the way the economy is running today, we are treated by a lot of shenanigans. And those shenanigans, they find people without a price, and they find them with a bang. And when you are found with a bang, wanaume tunakufa mapema sana. Miaka 50 wewe unaonekananga unaendanga kazi pale kwa ofisi. Lakini hiyo kazi unaendanga pale kwa ofisi ni kwa sababu uko na madeni mingi sana. Madeni mingi sana kutoka ya nyumba, kwenda kwa ya gari, kwenda kwa hata kule watoto wako wanasomea shule. Pale amekuchukulia pesa, wewe pale umechukua pesa, hata huko kwa Fuliza, huko kwa Zenka, umewekea bet zinaendelea kuchomeka. Siku hizi hata betting watu wanafanya hivyo. Because this man lacked the purpose, and because of lacking purpose, he became a man who has been relegated to become a man who is in motion, but he doesn't make any progress. And now life inakuonga. So ukifikia miaka 50 unaanza kukufa. Bibi anaanza kukuondokea pole pole. Watoto wanaendelea kukua, naenda kwa mama. Sasa wewe umeachwa pale nyumbani. Unakohoa teburu, no one is there for you. Unaingia kwa nyumba unasalimia watu, people are looking at you, and when they see you coming in, they keep quiet. And you have just come in. The stories are now, everyone has now shut. If there was a kitchen to go, everybody now goes to the kitchen. Now that's now when you realize that the kumbe, I was alone. And you know the original intention of God was that a man was supposed to live alone. In the Garden of Eden, the man was living with animals. And the one who cares for animals. Because when things become now terrible, na hauna ng'ombe, na hauna mbuzi, na hauna wanyama, waja nikuambie kitakuumania, kwa sababu wakati watu watakuondokea kwa familia, unaenda kwa bedroom, unasikia ile silence iko kwa hiyo bedroom. Na unajua silence iko kwa bedroom kwa sababu in the table room there was no talk. And you know, if there was no talk in the table room, then you don't expect to go and start a conversation in the bedroom. And most of the times why men you see them quiet in the table room, it's not because they want to be quiet. It's so battered economically. There are a lot of targets in the workplace, and he has got nothing to show of why he has been going to work. Ukiingia kwa sako wako na milioni moja. Milioni moja, mtu amefanya kazi miaka 10. Miaka 10 unajua ni miaka mingi sana. Miaka 10. Sahi hata ukiambia watu that Kibaki was one of the most effective presidents in Kenya, wanakuuliza Kibaki mgani? Because actually Kibaki is already dead. And it's just 13 years ago that Kibaki left the power. People have already forgotten him. People don't no longer even remember Uhuru Kenyatta, and it's only 3 years ago. Miaka 10 ni miaka mingi sana. Naume kuwa anakuja nyumbani, na unakuja mapema sana, lakini you're always on mobile phone, chatting and listening to people laughing. And they are laughing because they want you to watch their content. Not that the content is very enticing, but someone is laughing there with the AI and whatever technology they use. I hear people laughing alone. Unaona mtu anacheka peke yake. Unamuuliza, how was your January? Anakuambia miezi 9 ago. Months ago. Unamuuliza, what have you been doing with the last 3 quarters? Anakuambia Kenya hii ufanye nini? Kenya hii. The question is, you think that Kenya hii people are not making progress? Kenya hii people are making a lot of progress. It is only people who doesn't have dreams, and therefore they have got no action plans. And because they have got no action plans, they have got no KPIs, key performance indicators. And because they have got no key performance indicators, they don't hold any metrics, and they don't evaluate themselves. So they live a day at a time. They live one day at a time. The time has come now to ask ourselves, what was the essence of one joining a Sacco? If you look at this slide that is here, we are saying that many financial problems people face today started when they were too young and making their first few financial decisions. Taking on too much debt, not investing early, and failing to plan can take decades and decades to recover from. And that puts their lives in the long run, their financial security at risk. The conversation or the point that I wanted to pass with this is that Bishop was trying to talk about why are Africans struggling? Why are Kenyans struggling? Why are people in Kenya would work for 36 years and they have got nothing to show of why they were working? Why are people, why are parents? Unapeleka watoto wako shule vizuri sana, unalipia karo vizuri sana, alafu wakati unafikiria kijana wako sasa amegraduate from Strathmore. That's why I'm a lecturer there. You graduate from that university and you are very hopeful that your son amepata kazi uko housing finance. So unafikiria mzigo imekuteremkia kwa sababu kijana wako atakuwa anakutumia 20,000. Ama amepata A&M, ama amepata DTB, ama amepata kule kwingine. Unasikia kijana wako ameanza kutembea kwako na msichana. Msichana anakuambia dad ama mom, sasa mimi unajua nataka kujipanga maisha. So wewe umepeleka university kule Strathmore 2.5 million. And you have been paying through the nose. Kwa sababu mtoto yako ni investment. All of a sudden your daughter graduates and with her master's degree. Unajua siku hizi watoto wanasoma sana. Na hizo zote unafanya. All of a sudden wakati yule mtoto wako ana graduate na ni msichana, ngojea ukuwa mzee na mama mnashikilia mtoto wenu mkono mkuu mnapeleka graduation, anakuja na boyfriend anakuja na boyfriend hiyo siku anakuambia dad, by the way I was just waiting to graduate ili nikujulishe kwamba nimepata mtu. Wewe umegonga milioni zako 4 pale. And now your son has gotten married, your daughter is way out to go and live with another stranger, and they started their own lives, and now you are left with your wife. Munaangalia na hivi. Bibi yako anakuuliza, mzee umekuwa ukifanya kazi gani? Unamwambia ni milioni 1 niko naye pale Nyumba Sacco. Kwa sababu ile pesa nyingine yote nilikuwa naweka kwa bank. Anakuuliza kwa bank, siende utoe milioni zile umekuwa ukifanyia kazi. Unauliza bibi yako na mortgage? Na mortgage hii nyumba mnakaa huko mnafikia nikupewa naipewa hii nyumba. Unaanza kuwa nao rude. Umeanza kupandwa na modi sasa. Sasa signal sasa antenna sasa unaanza you cannot see the house. But the question is, tutakula nyumba? Tutakula nyumba kweli? That's now when you realize kumbe rafiki ya mwanaume kwa hii ulimwengu ni Mungu peke yake. The boy child, rafiki yake kwa hii ulimwengu ni Mungu peke yake. Wengine wote, it is dependent on how weighty your wallet is. And relationships will keep on zikipanda zikiteremuka, fluctuating depending on the rhythm of your planning. And if your planning was not very good, then you find yourself having a lot of problems. And all these I think I had shared with you many times, or the days I was here. It all comes now to that. You know, I didn't want to show you many things. This gentleman called Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is the American billionaire. He's the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He is still alive. And this gentleman will tell you he wakes up in the morning to lead. And he is the richest billionaire in the category of buying and selling of shares and also investing. That gentleman tells you that if you don't find a way of making money when you're sleeping, you're going to work for money until you die. And that is the illustration with this picture that is here. If you go to Masai Mara today, or if you go to any hotel or a holiday destination, whether in Cape Town, I don't know how many of us have ever been to Cape Town. That is one of the most beautiful sites that you can visit within your lifetime. If you've never been to Dubai, I'm not telling you that I was there, but I'm telling you, if you've never been to Dubai, then you are still here to live. You know this dominion that God was talking about. It was not about Kenya. You know, Kenya, there's no way you can go and tell someone you went. And especially people who are members of Nyumba Sacco. You know, telling people about Masai Mara, na hujai jipeleka huko, someone will start wondering, if wewe hujai enda Masai Mara, sio team building ya company ama ya Sacco, wewe mwenyewe kusema wiki moja tunaenda Masai Mara kuangalia wanyama tu. This is how our dreams are usually negated and cancelled in life. that many people, when they are starting off their lives, they start with a lot of consumer loans. They actually cannot even wait to buy a TV. I don't know whether this one is 85 inch. Inaona kama ni 85. Hisense. Na hii nafikiria sijui kama bei imeteremuka. The last time I checked it was going for 330,000. This piece. And because you want to have this kind of a structure very quickly, unatembea pale Nyumba Sacco, na wewe ni mtu ya 30,000, unapewa 10 times. Ama 50,000, unapewa 10 times. So sasa unajipata na kitu kama hii kwa nyumba. Unalipa miaka 5 TV. Miaka 5 TV. Unajua Africans, hata Mungu, kama Mungu anaweza kateremuka na wakati huo ateremuka na kiboko. If there are some people who would be caned when they are naked, are Kenyans. Because some of the decisions that we make with our monies, those are decisions, the actions. I had him, he had illustrated everything here. I was just running when I was seated here. Our decisions and our actions, they are the ones that informs whom we become. Because when you look at an African man or African woman, looking at these two African men, I don't want to look at the women. You know these are people, even they are dismantled. When you look at their face, even the legs start losing shape. You start wondering, where this man, and you look at another mama, and you go to Masai Mara, or maybe Pride in Paradise in Mombasa, Ukunda, go to Malindi, you find these guys are actually enjoying our national heritage. They know our site. And this is because, as Warren Buffett had put it clearly here, is that if you don't find a way of making money when you're sleeping, you are going to work for money until you die. And you retire, you get your pension, only to go to your village to start a hardware. Who starts a hardware in the village? Or even you find another serious person saying that nimekuja kugundua nguruwe ziko na pesa sana. Wewe mtu ambaye ni retire, nguruwe kwa umeretire kufanya kazi kule ulikuwa unafanya kazi. Ulitae na wewe ni mzee na unajua harufu ya nguruwe vile iko mbaya. How will you even withstand the smell ya nguruwe when you are an old man? Hata unaambia bibi yako retirement plan ni hii sasa. Tutakuwa tunaamuka na gambut. Sasa watu wale ambao wanaamuka na gambut kuingia kwa nguruwe ni akina nani? Instead of now walitae waende Masai Mara ama waende Cape Town ama waende Accra in Ghana right now. Waende wajione ama waende Nigeria. Nilikuwa nimeona wameita another very good pastor here by the name, he's called Apostle Joshua Selman. Did you see? Alikuwa amekuja hapa juzi. If you go to Nigeria and especially in Lagos, not Abuja, in Lagos, where these guys have established very serious churches along the beaches, like the Bishop David Oyedepo, he can say a Winners Chapel. It is actually along the coastal line, and he has picked about 800 acres of land where he also does sugar production and cement production. David Oyedepo, this guy, those bishops who come here from Nigeria, they are billionaires in their countries, not because of offering. Not because of offering. They are not con men like our people here, who actually con people and they don't produce. Those guys are very rich. They are very rich. They do a lot of production with their time. And even when they are preaching, and I remember even Salman, and go and listen to Salman when he is talking, they actually encourage their believers not to pray like, I don't want to use the words that they use, not to pray like people who are directionless. God doesn't bless nothing. God doesn't bless nothing. God blesses what you have done. He says, I'll bless the work of your hands. You plant, and he brings the supernatural powers, and the maize sprouts. If you don't plant, there is nothing. There is nothing you can get. It is out of action. And that's why I tell people, we don't wait upon God. We meet with God in action. If you stand up, God will host you, and you're going to walk. If Kipchoge is running, and he's an old man. Kipchoge is very old now. I think he's about 38 now. 39 years. And when you look at that man, I saw him at the airport the other day. Unaangalia mwanaume mpaka mishipa huku imetoka. Huku mishipa. Unajua huyo mwanaume vile amekonda sahi. Of course very soon atakuwa kama Paul Telegat. Without Paul Telegat sahi, you'll be so shocked to know that Paul Telegat looks like a very young man. Na amejaa sana mwili sana siku hizi. Unajua ile ukonde hawa watu ni kwa sababu ya ile kazi wanafanya. They run 18 kilometers per day. 18 kilometers per day. And because they want to enhance that tenacity, tenaciousness, longevity, they want to hold the air from inside. They want to run against the wind. So that when they go for marathon, they win. Look at our small girls like Faith Kipyegon. Look at that Beatrice Chebet. These are rockets. These are billionaires. Hata wakati nasikia wanaambua wanapewa nyumba, alafu walipe nusu walipewe ingine. It's someone who can buy a house with only one win. They can win. Why? Because these guys, they understood the concept that if you don't lose yourself in a particular endeavor, then you don't wait to reap. If a woman wouldn't sacrifice her beauty to carry pregnancy, there cannot be any child. There must be something to trade off. That you must be able to lose something in the cause of a good cause or endeavor. Saving, we have preached this gospel, and especially in circles. And especially in circles where people are not serious. Unajua kuna circles where people are not serious. Where people will save the bare minimum. 3,000 in a month. You know, someone will start actually questioning whether people are serious. You know, this life is very hard. Sahi mtu anapaswa ku save 30%. That's what I tell people. Save 30% of your salary. If I could give you some slides here. My good brother here, alikuwa ameongea kuhusu everything. So I'm actually learning up and about. If you look at this, on the drawing your personal budget, one of the guidelines you can use to navigate your spending decisions is 16-15-25. And this rule dictates that you allocate your money in the following manner. 60% goes to your needs. 60% to your needs. 15% goes to your wants. Now someone would ask me what's a want and what is a need. A need is the basic needs. A want are luxurious things. Like, you want to have a pizza, you want to have nyama choma, you want to have a DSTV in your house. Those are wants. Those are not needs. Those are luxurious things. And the 25% should actually go to your savings. Now, if you look at 25%, what is it? Now, equivalent to 1,500 in a month. Unajua mimi nataka kumwambia watu, the best one now is that you're supposed to take this one plus this, which is 40%, and you do this one for 15 years. 15 years. And then you combine it with now Albert Einstein's eighth wonder of the world about compounding. Nimemaliza masomo. Unajua naona watu wamechoka sana. Nimemaliza masomo. I want to combine you with Albert Einstein's, the eighth wonder of the world. How do I grow my wealth exponentially in the long run? I have devoted myself for 15 years, and I want to be saving 15% or 40% or 30%. Myself, I do 30%. And the 30% is that if I get 100,000 today, 30,000 goes direct. And I will not keep my money in my account, because if my money goes to the bank, I'll just draw that money with my mobile phone, and I'll shoot it to my savings account instantly in Yondoke. And why I do that is because saving is actually discipline. Saving is not easy. It is a discipline that you inculcate. And if you're this kind of a person who thinks that you're going to increase your savings when you get a salary increments will never come. And even when they come when they are already consumed by inflation. So the inflation will actually eat up to the 5,000. Wajua kuna watu ambao sawa wanangojea January salary increment. Iko utaongezewa 5,000 January, ishakuliwa iko 7,000. So actually you have lost 3,000 this year of your purchasing power. So the 5,000 that you are going to get will actually be negative 3,000 in January. It doesn't work. So the conversation about Albert Einstein, the eighth wonder of the world, and Albert Einstein had written a lot of theories, and especially the theories on wisdom and knowledge. That he who understands the power of compounding, then he earns it. The ones who does not understand compounding, ladies and gentlemen, pays it. And those are now the men and women that you saw there. That in December, tumeamua tutapewa 80%. Wacha mimi nichukulie 80% for prudence in accounting. 8%. So I've got $1 million in this circle, and I'll be paid 8%. What is 8% of $1 million? Is it 80,000? 80,000 assuming withholding tax of 5%. I don't want to, let me assume it is 80,000. So now 80,000 kuna sako zingine zinaambianga members hata unaweza kula hiyo pesa kabla ikuje. Sio, najua nyumba haijafika hiyo. Haijafikishwa na hiyo virus kwamba kula pesa yako kabla uipate. Unajua kuna watu ambao wanakuanga very impatient. Yourself you spoke about deferred consumption. So now this one is not even deferred consumption. This is actually now the appetite is so much I cannot even defer it. I want even to eat it. Even if I have even to pay so that I can even eat it before I earn it. So 80,000 compounding means that once you are paid 80,000, you actually do an email to the CEO and you tell him, I want that money compounded, capitalized, retained. Because today I've got the energy. So now, when they start in January 1st, 2026, it will not be 1 million, it will be 1,080,000. That's why this gentleman is telling you. He who understands it, that's what we are saying. How do I leverage on the power of compounding? We are saying, with patience, consistency, compound interest can lead great rewards. What does Warren Buffett say about it? Warren Buffett says that compound interest is in the interest earned on the principal amount of an investment plus any interest that has already been earned. And he is also putting it very clearly, saying that it is the power, even simpler terms, as a snowball rolling down in a wrong hill, picking up more snow. It gains momentum until it becomes a massive ball. That nilianzia na milioni moja, giving myself 15 years. An African man, 15 years, bila kukula kitu. An African man. Warren Buffett is saying, he is comparing it with a snowball that has been released from a mountain. As it is coming down, it is picking any other snow it finds on the way. Then by the time it hits now the ground, it is actually a very big snowball that when you retire, you just go now to Amsterdam, you go to Belgium, Brussels, connecting to Paris, going to Stockholm, coming through London, and you connect with a high-flying wrong flight to Kenya, after having traveled the globe, not on your tree, not on your banana tree, not on your mango tree, but on your fruits. Fruits. That's why now I go back to the principle where we said that I did not go looking for work so that I can be given a title. I worked in about 4 multinational companies, and I worked on it for 8.5 years. 8.5 years. 4 multinational companies. And the reason was, Jenga Karume, Chris Kirubi walinisaidia sana, John Michuki alinisaidia sana. Waliniambia kijana, kusema unafanyia kazi Beosdorf. Beosdorf, unajua Beosdorf ni kampuni kubwa sana ya Germany. Ya Nivea, hiyo ni kampuni kubwa sana. And I was in charge of production and distribution. Hiyo ni kampuni kubwa sana when I was 31 years old. And that Jenga Karume told me, wewe ile kitu uko nayo kubwa sana ni kizungu. Lakini wewe pesa hauna. Kwa sababu hata ile pesa unakuja kuniambia unalipwa. Na sasa hiyo nilikuwa na mshahara kubwa, 435,000. Hiyo ni pesa mingi sana kwa kijana 31 years, 435,000. Hiyo ni pesa mingi sana. And my firstborn was only 6 months old. Jenga Karume ananiambia wewe ni mtu maskini, lakini kwa sababu hiyo kizungu yako au wazungu wamekuweka pale, ili wafanyie kazi wakulipe 435,000. Akaniambia mimi ni mtu wa class 3. Naweza kuajiri nikupatie 10 times of that money to work for me. 10 times. Na unajua Jenga Karume alikuwa anatoa mpaka EABL, KBL then, Kenya Breweries. Alikuwa na hire CEOs. Na wakumbuka hotel zake zilikuwa zinafanya kazi vizuri sana. Because he was hiring the right talent. He didn't care how much you charge him so long as you do what he tells you to do. So Jenga Karume was a visionary. He was visionary. Then he was intelligent in assembling teams, just like Henry Ford, who was able to assemble a team to come up with the Ford car. And the Ford car was named after him, not after the engineers. Yet he was not an engineer. Because what matters is where I'm going, not where I am. I am not defined by my title. My title cannot buy anything. What buys is the purchasing power. And if I am not incrementally, I'm not exponentially, I'm not marginally improving and increasing my purchasing power, then I'm only in motion. I'm not making any progress. And if you want to know whether progress is there, just go to your circle. How much share capital do you have in your circle? Imefikisha million share capital minimum. Minimum is 10,000. You can go up to. You can put whatever you want, but out of the 10,000 members that you have, what is the percentage that has got more than 10%? 10,000. It's actually very few. Because the people are putting it at the bare minimum. Because the question is, na nikitaka kutoka. Nikitaka kutoka. Unajua maswali ya people who do not understand money. Nikitaka kutoka. Unatoka uende wapi? Number two, do you know that hiyo wakati unasema ukitaka kutoka, you will not be having any production energy. Hauwezi ukaproduce hata mtoto. Ukiona mzee anazaa akiwa na miaka 50, mzee. Unajua mama really can they produce at that age. Lakini unajua sisi tunakuanga productive until you die. 10 minutes to death, you can produce a child. A man. But ukiona mwanaume anazaa akiwa na miaka 50 kupanda juu, ni mwanaume unapaswa kuita mkutano. Umwambie mzee kichwa yako inafanya kazi vizuri. Because some of those obligations that comes with that now age is that they are the ones actually that accelerates your death. Responsibilities during old age. So 10,000 for me, if I were you, and I was given an opportunity, like I was with Kenya Police. And the Kenya Police, sahi, hiyo sako, ndio namalizia naye sasa. Hiyo sako is one of the biggest in Kenya. Na hiyo sako ni askari. Now, they engage my services to accelerate their share capital from 10,800 to 50,000. Currently, every police officer in Kenya has got a share capital of 50,000. But it was actually through persuading them through the delegates. So they saved that money. But currently, if you want to go and join Kenya Police, ni 500 peke yake, 500 shillings. Because they have got a liquidity of about 21.5 billion. That is the institutional capital. 21.5. So they are huge. And their highest saver has got a share capital of 120 million. 120 million. Mwanaume moja. Now analipanga na 16% dividends. So you can imagine mtu ambaye akiwa na 120 million 16%. Hata unaweza katoa 20 ubaki na 100 million. 16%, that is 16 million. Huyo ni askari bwana. Huyo lazima akuwe ni mwizi. Si kweli? Wajua Mwafrika lazima akuwe na kitu ya kusema kwa nini hana pesa. Lakini wewe ni kuuliza kwa sababu huwezi uka-afford hiyo, kwa sababu sio kila mtu ambaye anaweza kuwa mwizi. Ni Kenya ni watu wachache sana wanaweza. It's a cartel. It's not everybody. People are struggling every day. Wewe ambaye yako unaweza ka-afford 20,000. Are you a poultry farmer? Are you a dairy farmer? Are you producing vegetables in this market? Are you selling nyanyas? Kuna mahali nimekuja nikasimamisha gari just before you past the flyover. Nikaona watu wamekuja wakiwa wamekimbia. I was doing it as an experiment. Nikasema wacha nijaribu hawa watu. So nikasimamisha gari. People gravitated towards me. People gravitated towards you. Everybody is carrying their production. Those guys are just retailers and brokers. The people who really produce those items, they are in homes. They are just telling people kuja uchukue nyanya kreti. Kreti moja ni 5,000. Wewe ukichukua 5,000, kile utauza ni shida yako. Mimi nipatie 5,000. Nyanya. Kuna mtu ambaye anaweza katembea na mti ya nyanya kwa kichwa anasema ati ukifika mahali watu wanajua you are tomato farmer. You are not. There is nobody who can know. I'm a dairy farmer and you cannot know. Because I don't carry cows. That's the conversation. So if I borrow my money 10 times from Nyumba Sacco, then I go and improve on my dairy farming. Out of the production that I get from my dairy farming, I can actually be able to boost my savings in Nyumba Sacco, and I can live very comfortably, not because of my salary, but because I multiplied what I borrowed from Nyumba Sacco. And if you listen to my conversation, I'm talking about the reproductive borrowing. Reproductive borrowing. Connecting your life with your destiny through Nyumba Sacco. And that is the only way you can achieve financial freedom. That's why Warren Buffett is telling you, if you don't find a way of making money when you're sleeping, then you're going to work for money until you die. And some of the things that we work for using our pension are the ones that actually accelerate, they catalyze our death, and especially men, especially the boy child. How we accelerate our death is because of financial distress and putting a lot of hope on things that are not there. Niliangalia kwa kanisa yangu Sunday. Hiyo ndio yangu ya mwisho. Unajua masomo yangu yaishange. Niliangalia kwa kanisa Sunday. Nilikuwa nimekaa pale mbele nikaangalia, nilikuwa nafanya statistics. Unaona mama ameingia peke yake. Unaona mama ameingia peke yake. Wamama wakaingia karibu 1200. Wazee wakaanza kuingia. Wazee walianza kuingia after 1200. Wazee wakaingia 15 peke yake. Kanisa wazee 15. Wazee, unajua wanaongea mambo ya wazee wale wako 60 years and above. Have you ever known why in the church there are no old people who go, especially men? It is because mwanaume akikosa pesa akiwa na miaka 45, you start going down in faith. Imani yako inaendelea kudidimia. Unaanza kukosa mwelekeo wa maisha. Ulikuwa na walk straight, unaanza kuwalk diagonally. Ulikuwa you are comprehending what you are saying, you start losing memory. You start now becoming someone who is of short memories. You don't remember anything. By the time you turn 55, you start asking God, what was my purpose in this universe? Na ukiangalia kwa zako ni 1,500,000, which is 1.5 million, umekopa milioni kama 8 ama 10. Na ukiangalia kwa nyumba yako, nothing you can look at. Ukienda kufanya poultry farming zote zinauliwa na coccidiosis na Newcastle at that particular age. Ukienda kuweka hardware, you don't even know how to talk to customers. You've never spoken to customers. Ukienda kuweka butchery wale wanakuja kununua hata ndio wanakuanga zaidi, kwa sababu nasikia mzee. Na sasa yule anakuambia mzee ni kijana mdogo sana. Mzee nikatie nyama pale na usiniwekee mfupa. Unaangalia kijana unashindwa. Heshima ilienda wapi bwana? Heshima. Na hata wewe, why would you relegate yourself to go and sell meat at that particular age? Na umevalia kabuti ya white. Ama unaenda kwa hadi unapata mzee amelala pale, unaambia mtu anakuambia mzee nataka simiti 50. Wewe unaangalia kwa store yako ni 2 tu zimebakia. Unamwambia nimebakia 2, wacha nikuuzie hizi 2 uone ukitafuta hizo. Anakuambia mzee nilikuwa nataka simiti 50. I'm not in the business of hooping from one shop to the other shop. So unaanza kudos. Unajua sasa umeanza kurealize that wewe hata pension yako ndio unatumia kulipa rent. Na nyumba sio yako. Sasa unaanza kutumia the pension now, the capital, to pay the rent, and you sit there the whole day, and you sit there when you are dreaming. You are dosing unnecessarily. Na ni saa 3 asubuhi and you are snoring inside your shop. There is nobody who is coming to buy. Unaenda jioni unapata bibi anakuuliza umekuja aje? Umekuja aje? Unajua the only thing that is very consistent and does not end in one's life is consumption. Actually, the worst thing with consumption is that it increases as you age. Because when you age, you eat 4 times or 5 times in a day. When you are like now, you can live on only 1 meal in a day. But when you age also, you become more hospitable. Unajua hospitability is that you become weak. And when you are becoming weak because you are becoming more sickly. So you need to be going to the hospital. There is one man, an old man is like an old car. You frequent the garage more times, and you are frequenting garage and there is no medical cover. There is no medical cover. When you look at what you have in the Sacco, there is nothing to put in the Sacco. Because what you had there was only 10,000. And why you heard 10,000 is that naweza kapata pesa yangu aje. Hata hiyo 10,000 ni kukatazwa ulikatazwa. This gentleman called Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated in I think it was in 1978, 15th of April 1978. And that gentleman was only 39 years when he was assassinated. That gentleman says that if you cannot fly, if you cannot fly, then you run. If you cannot run, you walk. If you cannot walk, you crawl. But in everything that you do, always ensure that you are making progress in the right direction. That's why I always tell people, the time when you hear this message is not the time for you to keep on reflecting and saying, I wish this man came when you were just getting jobs. I could not have come because I did not come. Don't say that this message is for the young people. Young people think it is too early to save. Don't say that you are too old. The best time when you hear this message is your best time to start your journey towards achieving your financial freedom. Because financial freedom is never given on a silver platter. Any time you hear the word freedom being mentioned, it is achieved through struggle. Freedom is never given on a silver platter. Freedom is earned, and it is earned out of struggle. So you have to lose yourself to the battlefield. And that's why I'm telling you, strive to live within your means. Usinunue gari ikiwa you cannot afford. Don't do a big house if you cannot afford it. Buy a car that you can afford. Do a house that you can afford. Don't buy this kind of a TV. This one maybe it is going for, and this one is even cheaper. If you go for LG, I think LG is the one that is very expensive. LG, they will even cost you about 1.5 million. Don't go for that. Buy the one for that 1,000. Hata that 1,000 ni pesa. Kuna TV sijui zinaitangwa aje zinauzangwa that 1,000. Na ni 40, I think is about 50 inches. Na ni TV mzuri. Wewe kile unahitaji sio TV, ni message ile ambayo inatoka. Na hiyo message iko ndani hapo. Kwa hiyo TV. Don't chase other people's shadow. Don't do what I do. Because maybe I had started that years ago. Now unaanzia leo. Don't buy a TV that you cannot afford. Don't even buy a mobile phone that you cannot afford. Actually, why would you buy a phone that is 150,000 when you are not a poultry farmer? How do you manifest your reproductiveness? How do you multiply what you generate if you are not a poultry farmer? If you don't produce oranges. Nikaa kwa mkutano moja nilikuwa nafunza wa delegate wa Sacco inaitwa Sheria Sacco. And the chairperson of Sheria Sacco currently, sijui kama mnamjua Sheria Sacco, I think himself he must be supervising them, so he knows them. Anaitangwa Philomena Beta Mwilu. She is currently the DCJ. Sindio? DCJ. Alafu anasema CEO simama. She is very authoritative. CEO simama. CEO anasimama. Ambia hawa delegates, mwaka huu nimekutumia pesa ya maembe pesa ngapi? Maembe kuchuna pale Makueni. Wakati hawa watu wanakuja kununua, wanalipa pesa yake through the FOSA at Sheria Sacco. CEO anaambia watu 2.6 million. Maembe mwaka moja. Maembe tu 2.6 million. Kuna mtu ambaye ako hapa na maembe miti kama 10 saa hii. Unajua saa hii Kenyatta family saa hii watoto wa Uhuru Kenyatta wanapanda miti ya hash avocado. Hash avocado. Kijana ambaye wamesomea America wamekuja hapa, and their grandfather was the founding father of this nation. The most immediate former president is their dad. The third largest bank in Kenya today is theirs. Wako shambani wanapanda hash avocado saa hii. Na ndio wanauza mboga sana Naivas and Quickmart, and of course for the export market. So sasa watu kama hao wanapanda mti ya hash avocado, na kuna mtu ambaye ako hapa hana hata mti moja ya spinach. Sio hata ya machungwa. Unajua this language of money is understood more by the rich than the poor. That the poor would think that the kulima spinach na managu na mboga spinach kills. Anaona hiyo ni kazi ya watu ambao hawakusoma. Unaona? Lakini wale ambao wamesoma sana na wako na pesa mingi, hivyo ndio wanafanya. Our current president is actually doing a lot of tomato farming in Taita Taveta County. Today, as we are talking. Marori haitoshi kuingia Voi. Ikiingia kwenda shambani kwake, ikitoa nyanya ziletwe Nairobi zingine for export market, na zile ambazo tunakula hapa mingi ni za mtu ambaye ako State House. Nyanya. Na mtu ambaye ako hapa anauliza hii mtu atamaliza saa ngapi na nyanya pale na ununuanga kwa karibu kufungwa. Saa hii. Huyo mwanaume anafanya nini na kuku? Na wewe hauna kuku. Unajua maswali kama hii Ndio najiulizanga. And that's why we always say that the best school in life is the school of life. Not the educated ones. The educated ones, they are so much doomed that someone can stay in the university. Unakaa university, unafunza watu hata ukuwa na 74 years. A professor, a doctor in the university anasimama hapo anafunza watu. Na kuna mmoja nimemwona hapa. Nilikuwa namuona Nairobi University miaka mingi sana, many years ago, even before I acquired a degree, my first degree. Wewe ni vizuri sana kujiuliza maswali. The school of life. Wewe why did you join Sacco hii? Hii Sacco unajoin kwa sababu ni chama. Hii ni chama ya watu ya kuwekana moto joto. This is actually your vehicle. This is not a merry-go-round. This is not a chama ya watu ukuja pamoja wale ambao wanafanya kazi housing finance ama kule kwingine ambako mtu ametoka. This is actually a place where all of us are pivoted. We are lifted to actually pick our dreams while leveraging on other people's savings. Not to enhance our consumerism. That's why number 2, pay yourself first. That's why number 3, track your net worth every day. Track your net worth. If you don't track your net worth, then December is about to come. And in December, change the story. Don't tell us about mwaka ilikuwa mzito sana. Ilikuwa mwaka mgumu wapi? Ilikuwa watu wanalima nyanya. Wewe umepanda ngapi mwaka huu? Maembe umepanda miti ngapi? Wale ambao wako hapa, mbuzi zako zimezaa ngapi mwaka huu? Watu wanauza heifers 180,000 in Kiambu, in Githunguri sub county. Tunauza one heifer 180,000. Ng'ombe ambaye haijazaa 180,000 mwaka huu. Wewe unasema mambo imekuwa mbaya. Ni mambo imekuwa mbaya ama ni wewe gari yako haikuwa inaonyesha any particular direction? Someone has relegated themselves to become a weedivin in life. Weedivin. Unajua weedivin inapelekangwa na upepo. Serikali ikisema inakata shi, tunakatwa. Serikali ikisema imebadilisha shi to sha, tunakatwa. Serikali ikisema housing levy, tunakatwa. Sasa hii wakitaka kuongezea tax burden from the current 25 to 30 and from the 30 to 35, you have got no say, because the father of taxation by the name Adam Smith alisema that taxation is actually a compulsory burden. Compulsory burden. You don't negotiate with the fiscal policies of a nation. Serikali ikinyamaza tu iseme tunataka kuongezea hii tax, wewe kazi yako ni kuabind, because the moment you don't abind, then you are evading. Tax evasion in Kenya is a criminal law. It's actually a criminal activity, evading tax. So the question is, are we even, and have we relegated ourselves to that? Financial freedom is not received. It is achieved. And the way to achieve it is when you lose it. And when you lose yourself to the service of what is good, then you sacrifice your time. You sacrifice your sleep. You sacrifice your status. When you sacrifice your status, the rewards will resuscitate, will revive your status. And when others will be grappling with the hard economic times, yourself you'll be saying, I'm flamboyantly swimming across the nations because Nyumba Sacco is my place to achieve financial freedom. With that, ladies and gentlemen, mumesoma ama hamujasoma? Kuna mtu amebeba kitu? Ila wakati mwingine mliongezea kitu ama ni leo mnaongeza? Unajua wale ambao wako online, siwezi nikauliza maswali mingi, lakini they are hearing from wherever they are. Unajua ni vizuri kujiuliza maswali at the end of this kind of a conversation. It is not about ilikuwa mzuri sana. It is about what are we going to do after this. Because what you're going to do after this is what will put now the skeleton. I was just putting the skeleton. It is your responsibility to put the meat into the skeleton. And you put the meat into the skeleton by writing down. Writing down. We said you must be very intentional and deliberate. And don't get comfortable at point B and you forget to move at point C. The ability to understand times is what makes some people to appear to be very lucky. Kama mimi naambianga na watu wengi sana, I'm very lucky. I'm not very lucky. If I tell people my story, they are not willing to go through the same. Unajua Simon Peter alikuwa ameambia Yesu, mimi nakupenda sana. Mimi nakupenda sana. Mimi hata ikuwa ni watu wakuje kukuharakisha ama kukuteka, mimi nitakata mtu sikio. Na ni ukweli alikata mtu sikio. Tunakumbuka the story of Simon Peter. Lakini wakati ilisemekana, wewe naona kama nilikuwa nimekuona na yule mzee. Wewe nilikuona kama mlikuwa pamoja. Yule mwanaume alimkana. Na ni kwa sababu he could not accept to be crucified with this man. There are a lot of people who admire results. People admire people. They say that they are very lucky. You know, this guy must be a thief if he is not lucky. This man must be from a very rich family. When in actual sense, even my mother died prematurely when I was informed too. It is not about where I come from. It's about the hard decisions, and willing to be trained on how to swim. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as I check out, if you want to be trained on how to swim, if you are not a swimmer, there is no school for swimming. You can only be trained on how to swim inside the swimming pool. Inside. So wakati unaambua ingia na wewe hawezi ukaguza mguu. Wewe unaguza ukuu unaondoka hivi. Unamwambia kwanza ulisema aje? Ulisema kwanza mtu ana breathe in. You cannot do that when you're not inside the water. So the easiest way to get financial freedom is to dive deep and learn to swim when you're inside the swimming pool, not when you're outside. And I'm not telling you to resign. Nakwambia uende ukapanda mti ya hash, ukapanda mti ya mangoes, enda uweke ng'ombe, ili wakati wa weekend when your others are watching Arsenal play, yourself you have got no time to watch young boys making money. You are actually with your animals reproducing. And when you reproduce, don't ask me where will you get 100,000. Go and sell your produce and bring the money to the circle. It is as easy as that. But there is a price to pay. Are you willing to pay the price? Mimi nataka kushukuru bodi yenu na CEO kwa sababu ya kunipea hiyo nafasi. And I pray that they also invite me some other time, not to come and train now, to come and check. Unajua ni vizuri kuangalianga kama watu ukifunza do they take actions? Kama sahi kuna mtu ambaye ameguzwa anaona kuna mali yako na 1 million atatuletea kwa zako Monday. Kuna mtu ambaye anaona kuna watu wana node. Kuna mtu ambaye ako na 150,000 alikuwa ameweka mahali kwa bank. Kwa bank, especially banking sector. Hiyo ndio pesa na kuambia hiyo pesa unaweka pale. Hiyo sasa hapa kwa Sacco, a Sacco is not a profiteer. A Sacco is a socio-economic transformation agency. That's why now I'm telling you, go and bring your money. Go and start now living a productive life. And if we meet in December 2026, having implemented those small skills that we have imparted to you, you'll be a very different person. And that's why Albert Einstein is saying, whoever understands the power of compounding earns it. Whoever doesn't understand pays. And you to pay nini? Struggling all your life when a Sacco was very good. May God bless you and bless all your aspirations and also bless the work of your hands. Asanteni sana.